Those who submit to the power of the mask may be spared. But then again, they may not.
Those who will submit may be spared.
You already guessed it from my very over-the-top intro for this video, but today we are talking about villainy. Specifically, one main villain's henchman from A.T.L.O.T.S, the leader of the Spartans, Season 2, Betrayals and Fusions, and his name is Diro. And if you're aware from that post I made yesterday, and also if you just read the title or just took a look at the thumbnail, it's needless to say that I have problems with this character. Specifically, how he's executed and integrated to the role he's supposed to fill. So what is his role? He's kind of like the Darth Vader of Season 2. He's kind of like the Darth Vader of Baron, the main villain here. He leads Baron's armies, also has his own soul army, and is just generally presented as a powerful being who is to be taken seriously. And also he's the second in command under Baron's forces, much like Darth Vader was to the Emperor. So now that vertaus. Now that I compared him with the most iconic villain of all time, what problems I have with him, especially because that severely contradicts the narrative you just saw from the thumbnail or the video's title. So, it's how Diro is executed. And let's just begin with the stat section, because there is a lot to talk about. And also I'm gonna talk about how I would fix him without really even changing him. It's just changing how he's used in the comic. So, as you are aware, A.T.L.O.T.S, the leader of the Spartans, Season 2, is not yet concluded, and there sure is much content we have not seen yet. But I believe there are still things that need to be said, and also don't think I'm having any beef with A.T.L.O.T.S ID and 6-2 himself, not at all. And I do believe his comic indeed is brilliant, but still things need to be said. And now I am going to say out loud one big problem that surrounds our villains. The force that drives our heroes to push even further and to be even better than who they were. And so, Diro, would you represent your curriculum to us? Alright, so you have here resurrecting an entire army of dead soldiers with the power of necromancy. Oh, and also leading a failed invasion at the shoreline of Inamot. What the fuck? No, that's not really compelling, I know. Stealing the fusion matrix for my heroes. Okay, a good start, yes. And that was about it. And even though I have said that the introduction of Baron and Diro from part 2 from season 2 is indeed really good, It was kind of ruined by the scene from part 6, where the reason why Diro couldn't find and resurrect Ares was because of just plot convenience. Really, that's how I would describe it. Plot convenience, which doesn't add anything to the story. And I just don't think it works. So, first up, he has a good scene to shine, and now we have sort of an asterisk right above it. So, is it really all that good? Was that really big of a feat? And second, how he operates on the battlefield, and specifically in his 3 most important appearances. So already talk about the first one. So what's next? What is the next one? When he leads the invasion of Inamorta from the borderland shorelines, and it's not bad for him, but a general rule how to write your villain, whether it's a battle of wits or a physical test of strength, whatever it is. If your hero wins the villain for the first time they meet, it takes away a lot, if not all, of the tension we have during their next meeting. Sure, it was kind of logical that Diro had to retreat. There wasn't really anything that can save him, but it doesn't really bring up a good first impression. And just generally, whenever something doesn't go according to plan, it's always on him. Like, really, is this the henchman of our main villain? Really? And the worst offender, part 7. Well, yeah, he steals the fusion matrix from our heroes, but when he gets into hand-to-hand combat, and also tries to use his axe for the first time in actual real situation, it fails. But come on. And also, I mentioned about his fight against A.T.L.O.T.S. He gets his ass completely kicked. So, can you really say to me that with a straight and clear face, that you can take this loser seriously? Tell me, is he really threatening after all of this? And I believe you have already started to recognize a pattern here. He's just generally incompetent. Whenever he does anything, even if it succeeds, there is still something that goes wrong. And whenever he tries to do something, it fails. So, are we really supposed to take him seriously? And again, the first time when he meets with our heroes, he gets completely blasted, even losing his own signature weapon. Like, come on, what the F is this? Like, I'm not gonna no longer watch him and see, what he can come up with next time. I'm just crying in pain for not hoping that he's not gonna get humiliated even more. But so, we have a problem. He's not really all that capable, whether it's physically, and Baron constantly taunts him and scolds him, and every time when something backfires on Baron and his forces, you're gonna be sure that Diro is the first suspect and the biggest reason for it. Whether it's some contrived dumb reason or just something else. So, do we have a solution? Indeed we do. But obviously just saying that make him win even more, it doesn't really help. Because if we just suddenly buff him and he just starts to wipe floors with our heroes, it's cheap and something that again doesn't really work, and it's really inconsistent with something we already have. So what is the solution? Let's another look at part 7, which presents him at his lowest, but also at his highest. I know, shocking. But what is it that can actually turn him into a threat without even actually changing his character, nor his feats, or powers, or really anything? Strategic, quick thinking. So, when he gets swamped by A.T.L.O.T.S, he realizes that fighting is no longer worth trouble. So let's use our numbers and resources at our advantage. Let's sunk our hero's ship, and before it, take all the loot, all the food, and all the riches we can get from them, and brought them back to our old ship. And this leave our heroes stranded in the middle of the ocean to die. So, all that comes up in a shorter period of time, and it almost works. And even when I have been very mean towards the scene where he fails to suck Ares's and Nevi's souls, part 8 being absolutely phenomenal, course corrector actually made that scene important. So it's not all that terrible, but still, he's not really a threat yet. Until we get to the point, what is the strength of his? So I already mentioned that he manages to defeat our heroes with using his gear at his disposal outside of pure strength and your hand-to-hand weapons. So what if we change him from not fighting in the front lines, but actually being a lot more watching from behind the scenes and pulling the strings, where he doesn't have to outstrength or outmatch his opponents. He instead outmaneuvers, outsmarts, or outnumbers them. And also, part 3 is kind of an example of him being used that way. And it was not really on him when they had to retreat. The tables weren't really on his side, and so it's not all that terrible. But even then, well, it just makes him not look like an actual threat. But what else there we have? What do I hear you say? Oh, he's a Juggernaut with a Juggernaut's helmet and axe. So, what is it that I believe it's actually completely fine, even enhancing this character I've made up in my head? So, Juggernaut's trademark is their inherent strength. But Diro doesn't really have that. Nor does he have actual combat experience, it seems. So, how we can turn it into an actual advantage of his writing? Well, it's this sort of poetic irony. He's not the one in charge. He's not this all-brave being. He's just himself. Diro being a more of a quick, strategic, quick thinker who outmaneuvers and outsmarts his enemies, not actually outmatching them with physical strength or even weapon capabilities. And this would bring a perfect yin for Ares's yang, where Ares relies heavily on his menacing appearance and brute force. But we can have Diro rely on his strategical intelligence and also usage of weaponry outside of hand-to-hand combat weapons, such as catapults or cannons. Or he uses all his other troops under his command and tries to outmaneuver his enemies with them. It really would bring sort of a anti-Ares for our heroes to fight against, while it still would be compelling enough, also having this sort of poetic irony. No, not irony, but just poetic still. And also having been actually a threat, because now we have something that makes him dangerous, but also not changing him much who he actually is. So, did you like my critique over this character? And did you like my rewrite of him? But not necessarily even a rewrite, just some small fixes here and there. Also, there is a bunch of irreparable damage done to his image. It's unfortunate, but we just have to accept them as they are. And so, I would say from now on, hey hey.